I saw this quote and I can't remember exactly what it is, but it was something along the lines of how as a person, you know, there's so many things that we don't get to experience. And I'm like, I want to experience so much more than a person is capable of. And as an actor, that's what you get to do. Because, you know, day in, day out, you get to go and see the world through someone else's eyes. And it's just incredible. Like, I'm so grateful that I get to, like, up to this point, call it my job, and hopefully that carries on.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
On the occasion of the release of her new film, How to Have Sex, McKenna-Bruce sat down with me in New York City to talk about the work.
So my wife handed me a notebook and a pen and sent me to see her movie. I went home and she was very disappointed to learn it wasn't a documentary.
Yeah.
And I told her I did not learn what she thought I would learn.
Do you know what? There's definitely space in the market for that though, because a lot of people were expecting that. A lot of people in Q&As and stuff have been like, but I didn't, this didn't teach us. And it's like, okay, someone somewhere needs to make a step-by-step guide, we think.
This is not our problem, folks.
Yeah.
We're making it.
Yeah.
Sometimes a performance reduces me to, in this podcast, to like a little child, where I'm just like, the only question is, how did you do that? I want to know what the ingredients were on this set, with this director, with you, that created what I witnessed here.
Yeah.
Because this is not your first rodeo. People might, you look a lot younger than you are, and people might think that this is your first time around.
Yeah. Where's she come from?
Yeah.
No, I've been very lucky that I have been working for quite a long time now. But I think this film in particular was just the perfect storm. I think it started with, I joined the project quite early on in the process. So I got the opportunity to screen test with a lot of other actors for the other roles. And that's something I've never been involved in before, getting to kind of be in amongst it before we start the shoot. And I mean, for a good, maybe even 6 months before we even started the shoot, we were doing these screen tests for. And I therefore got the opportunity to workshop these scenes with, I mean, we saw hundreds of other actors. I got to workshop these scenes with these amazing other actors and see how Tara would respond to the different energies she was being given, which you don't get a lot as an actor. You know, you turn up on set and you're doing your scene with your scene partner and you're working with what you've got then and there. But this was, I got to try it out in loads of different ways before we even got to set, before we even got to rehearsals. We were playing with this. And that's what it boils down to. Getting the chance to play was incredible. Time, we had time on this project, which I think is an absolute luxury in this industry. When we were actually on set, they'd say, we have more time with this scene. Let's do the whole scene with no dialogue in it.
Whoa.
Yeah, which
That's
I've
amazing.
never had that experience on set before where you've got more time.
Right.
That was a huge luxury because the pressure isn't on then, you know?
Yeah.
The pressure isn't on to get it right immediately. You're not afraid to get it wrong or to feel silly or anything like that. And I think as well, the deep care that Molly, our director and writer, had for every single person on the set, cast and crew, it was so important that everybody felt loved, supported, connections to each other. It meant for me, I'm prepared to be 100% vulnerable because I trust everybody in this workspace. And I don't know if I realized it quite so much at the time, but in reflection and looking back at the film, I do realize how open I was throughout the whole process. And I do think that's the way that Molly set up her set.
That matters so much, doesn't it? In every kind of film, but particularly for a film like this, with these kind of scenes.
Yeah, and a film that you know, we had a real responsibility to get this right. It's a film that we knew was... Tara's story is very prominent for a lot of people, but I don't think we were quite ready for how many people. We've been a hard push to kind of speak to anyone that hasn't experienced her story in some way, shape or form, or been one of the characters in this story that we see. So it was really important, and it was really, really close to everybody's heart that was working on it. It was really, we all really, really cared about what we were making. And I hope that's what people see.
What's the difference between what you were building with Tara and what Molly had built in her mind? You know, like, I'm fascinated by that coming together of a director who has created a character and the person who inhabits that character. And when it's a performance like this, I'm sorry to keep blowing smoke, but this is alive. It's real. It feels like it's not created by a writer, and that's a huge compliment.
Thank you.
But I want to know that working relationship of those two molds, because they are two molds, and how she let you take that clay, you know?
I think Molly was very, very trusting of me from the first time that we met, and I don't know how, but I felt that from her. So it gave me also this confidence to be like, I've got this, and I know Tara. When I first read the script, like, she resonated with me so much, for various reasons, but predominantly being desperately trying to live up to these expectations that people have of her. I am very lucky that I started acting at quite a young age, but it meant I took a lot of time out from school. So when I'd go back to school, I was competing to keep up with everyone else. And so therefore I was the yes person, I was the class clown, because I was like, I have to make up for this lack of time that I've had. I need to make friends, you know, that desperation. And I felt that from when I read Tara. So going into this, I felt like I knew her. I felt like, you know, she is a part of me. And Molly let me run with that. She really did. She gave me the space to do that. I mean, dialogue-wise, we stuck very closely to the script. But in terms of the energies that we brought, I'm quite a loud, energetic person anyway. So I think that was something that I really wanted to bring to Tara. And I remember at that age in particular being very, everything was the best thing or the worst thing at that age. You know, there was no gray area in terms of, like, it was one extreme to the other. So when we see the girls like run into the hotel room and it's like, this is the best room we've ever seen in our lives. Like, it was that energy all the way through. And I think Molly she said that from my first tape, she saw that I had this a bit, and it feels like I'm blowing smoke up my own ass, but this is in Molly's words. I was able to present in a way, but also have a lot else going on. And that's what she really needed in Tara. So it was about taking that and nurturing it and letting it kind of, see where it could go, I think. And to be honest, like, she just really let me fly with it and would give me direction-wise. We also really connect deeply on a level as humans, me and Molly, which is obviously always really, really helpful. But direction-wise, she'd kind of give me like a line or a phrase or something of where Tara's mind might be at in that moment that just triggered something in me to kind of know where we were, and that was like where this emotion was kind of stemming from, you know? If that makes any sense.
Oh, yes. The first thing that has to be authentic for me as an audience member is the friendship aspect.
Yes.
Is the idea that these girls are really not actors that just met a couple of days ago or whatever, that they are, you know, have been with each other for their whole young lives. How did you guys build that?
I mean, that credit really goes down to a wonderful casting director, Isabella O'Doffin. I mean, like I said, the casting process was really long. And it was just about finding, you know, sometimes you meet people and you just click and it feels like you've known each other for a really long time, and that's what it was for us. Myself and Lara, who plays Sky, we screen tested together quite early on, and I've never laughed so much, I think, in all my life. She is absolutely hilarious, and, you know, she's one of my really, really close friends now, and was my rock throughout the whole shoot, of like making sure I was checking out of Tara and checking into Mia, you know, at the end of a day. And I felt like I'd known this whole group for my whole life. I trusted them with like my life, and we did get, I know it doesn't sound that long, but we got 2 weeks of rehearsals.
That is long.
Which, I mean,
compared to what you normally get, right?
If you're lucky to get anything. And in those rehearsals, it wasn't necessarily about rehearsing the scenes. It was about talking to each other, getting that time to get to know each other, and get to know Molly as well. So by the time that we were on set, we already had these very tight bonds.
That matters.
And I think we all showed up with like reasons behind wanting to do this film, what it meant to us, and kind of discovering those reasons and having that respect for each other from the get-go really brought that chemistry together.
Yes.
Yeah.
If that work wasn't done, I really believe that even if you guys are all talented, there'd be something that wasn't gelling,
for
right?
Sure. Yeah, for sure. It was
has
so
to do it.
important that chemistry was organically there, I think.
Yeah.
And also while we were on set, because we had that chemistry with the crew as well, while we were on set, Molly would, each week we had different events, like where we could all get together, like we'd play football every week. I mean, I'd watch most of the time because I'm very accident prone and did not have time to get broken bones. And poker nights, music nights, throughout the week, to give people that family vibe as well throughout the shoot.
Yeah.
Which was beautiful.
Yeah.
That time and consideration that we had from Molly, from our producers, just added that extra layer, I think, of safety, commitment from everyone, collaboration, which is like something I've realized from doing this film, how important that is and how much I love that feeling of collaborating.
Yeah.
I think I've realized in doing this, that's why I want to do it. I love that.
You know what's embarrassing about this? This is Molly's first film.
I know.
And here she's got this down, what
she's
you
got
need.
It down to a T.
She's got down what everybody.
Yeah.
And people who've been doing this forever.
Yeah.
We don't need that. Let's go ahead.
I mean, she's a genius. She's an absolute genius. And I'm so grateful that like our worlds have collided.
It paid dividends.
For sure.
This is one of those questions that probably will never get asked anywhere else but this weird, nerdy podcast.
Love that.
From this weird, nerdy filmmaker. I have never seen, that I can recall, a movie with more scenes in loud places, in places that have music on in the scene, and an insanity of noise. And scenes have to take place in these environments, and it's all the way throughout the whole movie, entirely. So obviously, anybody who's made a film knows that, or if you've been an extra on a film, you know that you're sitting down background and you're not talking, or you're acting like you're talking, you're not being loud. And this feels so real. Like, it's just at one point I was like, I came out of my haze, you know, and I was like returned to filmmaker hat. And I was like, how are they doing this? How is this working? So tell me a little bit behind the curtain of that. And I'm assuming that however that was done, it made it so that it could, again, be more authentic where you're in a location like that, right?
So I think there were a few things that made it that. First of all, we filmed all of those scenes back to back in the first 2 weeks.
Whoa.
So we were all running on adrenaline as well, I think, which was helpful because it was just go, go, go. We didn't stop. We were going into battle at that point. And then I think it's in Greece specifically, they cast all the extras. So there was like 200, 300 extras.
Wow.
They cast them all.
Wow.
Across the Greek island. We had some fly out from the UK as well. But there was like specific casting for the extras. And they were all so committed to what they were doing.
They really
it was
were.
incredible. I mean, you know, we were having to do these scenes for 2 weeks, so energy levels would lapse sometimes. But our incredible extras would have that energy going, which for us is incredible because then we could just bounce off them again.
Exactly.
And it was
it
again
helps you.
Yeah.
It helps you.
And it was just creating that really fun, special environment where they all felt really involved, committed. They were kind of getting involved in the costumes, like everything. Like they loved what they were doing as well. And in between kind of takes to get everyone really in the mood, they'd be like playing these tunes, you know, to get everyone going. So obviously when we were doing the scenes, for the sake of the dialogue, music couldn't be playing. Yeah. So it was to get everyone like going, and that in itself was really, really special. Yeah. And this is what I mean by this film is like the perfect storm, because every department just was at the top of its game. And I think maybe for a multitude of reasons, maybe it's the subject of the film matters to people, maybe it's what Molly created. I know there was many times that like I'd just be like, I want to do this for Molly. Like she's such an incredible person. I want to get this right for Molly besides anything else outside of that, you know? Yeah. She obviously wrote the film as well, so it's her baby. Right. And I was very aware that this is something that she's worked really, really hard for. So if I can match that even half the amount, then hopefully I'm doing something right. And also like, what an honor that like she's trusting me with this role. Right. So there was at no point I wanted to drop the ball with that at all. Right. And I think that was the same across the board. Yeah. I mean, how many movies or TV shows have you seen where you're like, oh, I know this isn't a bar. I know this isn't really a party. Yeah. And it's just... Well, this is the other thing. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. But I love, like, Molly made it a 360 set, which I don't know if that's the technical term, but so it was basically a live set in terms of the hotel room and everything. All the drawers were filled with what would actually be in there. There was food in the sink from like as if we'd eaten the night before. The strip, the scene where Tara's walking down it on her own. The rubbish, everything was thought about to precision. I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, that was all set. Wow. And it was, for us, we were just completely immersed in it all the time. So that as well, like this world that Molly and the team created for us is the dream as an actor, you know? Because you don't have to think about any of that. You are there, you are living and breathing it. Like when I was doing the scene where Tara is just walking down the strip, a lot of people have asked like, what was going on for you there? I was just there. I was just walking down that strip. I was clocking the rubbish that's been left. Why has that been left there? Who's left that there? You know, like I was just fully there. And I think that's what comes across, and that's because of everyone's attention to detail in this film. That's a lesson for, and you're saying it, like when people are at the top of their game, it helps the performance, right? And you don't even like usually connect that. Like what, the prop master is going to help the performance? Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, they are. A big time. Every single person has such an incredible role to play because it all adds up. It all adds up, and it, you know, on screen we see a moment, but that's people's work for months. I mean, Molly's spoken about how she has a document of 600 pages of prep for this that she did before we went into shoot and then didn't pick it up again during the shoot because she'd worked obviously so hard on it before we'd gone into shoot that then it was instilled in her. And for me as an actor, that's what I like to do. Obviously everyone has their different ways of doing scenes, but I don't like to, once I'm in the shoot, I don't like to do any kind of work on the script once I'm in it. Right. I do the work beforehand, I do the timeline, because obviously you don't get to shoot chronologically most of the time. So I have a quick timeline that I can check in with to make sure we're mentally in the right place, but I do the work beforehand and then I leave it behind. Because we're just trying to convince everyone that this is a real moment, right? Like right now, I'm not sat with you thinking about, oh my God, like what was my journey here? Like, you know, we're just in this moment. Right. So I'm just trying to do that as much as possible. Right. It feels weird to call
some of these scenes sex scenes because that implies a certain, I mean, we could call them that, but there implies a certain erotic nature that's not. And
when we talk about them, we refer to them as the assault scenes.
There we go. Assault, and I was going to say, it doesn't even feel right to call them intimacy scenes
exactly.
either.
That's it. It's like, where do we put this?
Yeah. But so those scenes, though, you know, usually somebody in a movie maybe is just kind of surviving that. It doesn't require the extensiveness of these scenes. Like, I'm talking about acting wise. I'm talking about things are conveyed in these scenes. There is a complexity to the scenes. It might even be beats in there. But I'm just curious, and you're already giving us, I think, an idea because of how much trust is here about how you approached that in there and how that was able to be performed with such precision.
Well, you've hit the nail on the head. It was literally done in beats, and we worked with the intimacy coordinator from the rehearsals back in London before we got to Malia to choreograph these scenes to an absolute T. Obviously, the rest of the film feels and was very free flow to shoot, but we knew exactly what we were doing when we were doing it, what we were showing at every point to make them as comfortable and as unawkward as possible. And also it was about making sure the scenes weren't too graphic. The scenes weren't there to kind of re-traumatize anyone that had experienced this or similar. It was really just to put us with Tara as much as we could in her mental state, as much as we could. So it was about the details of her hands, you know, clutching at the sand, the details of the pain and how uncomfortable she is. And I think it was just about, I mean, being a human in those moments and going like, she's in pain. That's it. That's what we're trying what we're trying to convey here. And that's why it was so important to hit the beats so that, you know, we were selling it in the right way. But and also it was hard to film, like particularly for Sam, who plays Paddy. You know, we discovered throughout the process and conversations that we've had with the guys, it's hard because it was a side of things that they haven't necessarily had to look at before. As awful as it is for a lot of the women on the set, this is something that we've all got our experiences with to some degree. So it wasn't new, but for the guys, it was something new in terms of having to look at it from this side. So they found it really, really, really tough. So it was also, these beats were so important so that we could make it feel for us as actors as mechanical as possible.
They are calling this a star-making performance, and you know, you can see why. And I read in an interview that, like, you know, just a couple months ago, you were, you know, trying to hustle in some of these auditions, and these people are now trying to build things for you. That kind of thing is happening.
It's crazy. It's insane. It's like, you know, it's the dream. It's the dream. It's happening and it's crazy. But I could not have asked for it to be on the back of a better project.
Right. That's the thing that's amazing, right? Like sometimes this happens and it's kind of like for something that is not so artistic, right? And that's fine. Sure. And sometimes people are very good. But when this happens for something like this, I'm like, oh, maybe the world is changing. Maybe this industry is changing. Like, this is something that deserves this.
It definitely feels positive steps. For sure. The fact that this film is being recognized when, you know, it was a low budget indie, and people want to watch it and they're talking about it. People want things to be better. Which is incredible.
It's amazing.
It's absolutely incredible. And you know, it's like we've had quite a few responses of a lot of males recognizing themselves in Paddy, openly saying that to us. And that is huge.
That's
like for
huge.
a person to watch a film and see themselves as the villain in the film, really, and admit that the fact that Molly's been able to do that in her movie is just groundbreaking. That's where change happens,
It
right?
transcends a film.
Yeah.
That's what happens then.
Yeah.
That's more important.
Yeah. I think that stems from a place as well of we really didn't want to shut anyone out. It was about not making Paddy a monster, not making Tara kind of this stereotypical victim that we see a lot, because then it's very easy to shut off from that and go, okay, I'm watching a movie, because these are extreme characters.
Right.
So it was about making them just as real, as human, as 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional as possible.
Yeah.
So that people can see themselves there.
Yeah.
Amazing. For sure.
Amazing. I want to know, though, when you're sitting here now in New York and this movie's opening today, and you're just looking at the future, what do you want out of this endeavor? I'm not even saying career.
Yeah.
I'm saying you're an artist.
Yeah.
And what would make you happy as that artist?
Just work. I just hope it means I can work forever. That's it. I love, I've got an incredible team that are brilliant at kind of making sure I don't kind of kill myself because I'm like saying yes to absolutely everything. I would do everything. I love. I know it sounds so cliche, but I just love being on a set. I love working. I love collaborating with people. And if this can give me the chance to keep doing that, that's the goal. And particularly with films like this, where you can tell stories that really matter to people and can be a force of change.
Yes.
If I can do more of that, because also we've done, like, since May we've been doing back-to-back press. Yeah. And people are like, oh yeah, like, are you getting tired of it? No, I'll talk about this movie forever. Yeah. Like I loved every minute of it. I'm loving every minute of it because it's so important and it matters to so many people. Yeah. So if I can just do more of that, I'll be a very, very, very happy person. I love it. I don't know why I love it. I saw this quote and I can't remember exactly what it is, but it was something along the lines of how, as a person, you know, there's so many things that we don't get to experience. And I'm like, I want to experience so much more than a person is capable of. And as an actor, that's what you get to do. Because, you know, day in, day out, you get to go and see the world through someone else's eyes. Yes. And it's just incredible. Like, I'm so grateful that I get to, like, up to this point, call it my job, and hopefully that carries on.
I hope the same thing for the sake of all of us who, I'm speaking for the audience now, okay? I hope for that too.
Thank you.
Mia,
thank
McKenna,
you so much.
Bruce, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been great to chat to you.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of The Gotham, formerly IFP. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.